Okay, I think I probably will begin to share as people will come. Hello, good morning from where I am. It's about 6:48 in the morning in Arizona. Today is October 26th. Uh, Looks like recent events in Nepal and almost all over Asia has given us the impetus to look at our one work. Uh, and how do I? Okay. Oh, sorry. Uh, okay. Uh, so, what I am proposing as a host of this online forum is that as Nepalese people and several other countries are beginning to reconfigure what what to do, why the systems are failing, and what new pathways they might be needing to carve out. Uh, our forum, which is one of the largest at this point in Nepal, at least I know, we have about 290 members and representing students, youth, lot of professionals, municipal leaders, farmers, gardeners, foresters, and professors. And some of us are working on this from diasporic vantage point from different parts of US, Europe, and looks like our forum could contribute tremendously, deeply, if we could bring together design models that have worked to address some of the problems in different areas, as I will be going through a few of those. But basically, the idea is to create a website, a user friendly website where a lot of success stories and models and designs for local people, local economies, local cultures to thrive in an increasingly global environment. And for that, I use the word global. It is local, but it is part of the global. So a new wording might be very useful. That is glocal, GLOCAL. And those of you who are attending, please uh, make a double note taking. That is fold your page in half, and on the left side, note down what I am proposing in this set of slides and ideas. And then on the right side of your page, write down what does that mean for you, each of you. So, for example, glocal. Do you think that word is useful for you? How do you see that you are actually in a not local versus global environment, but actually in a glocal environment? So, the first slide. What it I am trying to evoke here is for places like Nepal, which are increasingly losing its young populations to other economies, developing a strategy and a pathway for self-reliance might pave the right tone. And in order to create that self-reliance economy and decreasing the input and producing as much inside the country that we consume. And in Nepali case, it's not only the Nepalese who are there, that might be about 15 to 20 million people who are still in Nepal, but that 5 million people come to Nepal every year as tourists, as guests, as attending a seminar, traveling, honeymoon, pilgrims. So let's say again 25 million people needing basic needs: food, healthcare, transportation, housing, shelter, healing, health. So for 25 million people, 15 to 20 million native and 5 to 8 million people as pilgrims, as guests, as our friends, how could we create that economy that is self-reliant? And I'm just using a metaphor of a Nepali sister making this leaf plate. Do you see how she's stitching plate by leaf, and making this big plate, a smaller plate, and that's where we used to eat. So we've so far probably we have been active about 9 months to 1 year in this forum. We have shared thousands, at least 5,000 different stories, different case studies, and now it is time to bring them in a certain kind of a coherent organizing principle so that the user could find and use it when they need it. And by the user, my sense is from fourth grader. For her, we need to give examples of how to farm, how to create health, how to get success in her exam, in her learning, and how to be an entrepreneur. From that on to college going youth, to professionals, civil society leaders, and now I want to add our prime ministers and all the top 500 people who think they are governing the country. They need to learn all these because they seem to be clueless. So, so this is going to be, but our task would be tremendous to make it so user friendly in an online digital environment. And for this, I hope that many of the youth who are best in digital technologies and information organizing and sharing will join the editorial team and make this happen. So the metaphor is, what are those ingredients to create a self-reliant society, self-reliant economy, self-reliant but hosting culture, a hospitable culture, which we always have been? So I am proposing 5 different thematic areas where all this plurimedia, not only content, words, which I think that might be one of our problems, more lively stories, visuals, films, interviews where we can see the people talking about their experiences. So, I call it even beyond multimedia, I call it plurimedia, that is not only human story, but also the story of other fellow species. What would be the role of a firefly? That's one of my favorite, more than human species, a friend of mine, which I remember from my childhood. We might need to bring fireflies back in the ecosystem of Nepali mountains and hills and flatlands and rice fields, because they have a role. Same thing, we might have to bring the pollinators. You see? So it's a very different terrain now, going from tucking heads to designing heads to doing heads, going away from protesting, which we see in Kathmandu also now, right now. Many people think by protesting they can achieve it. Probably not. What we are needing is proposing the design to bring self-reliance back. So protesting will only destroy at this point because nobody knows what to do. So the first volume that I am thinking we could do and could be useful is, I am thinking when I was a Gen Z, that is, let's say, between 13 year to 30 year young, each of us were a Gen Z, because I am doing this strategy. Because if we just single out the changing as an anomaly, as something new, weird, I don't think that will be doing justice to ourselves, the generations previous to current Gen Z. But we all were Gen Z at one point, and how was our Gen Z period between 13 to 30? And we will mix the stories of current Gen Zs and my generation might be the eldest, right? Who are now starting 70, and there are few of us who are even in their 80s, and then the 60s, the 50s, 40s. Let's put 10 to 15 years as a generation. If we bring all our stories, what we were imagining, what we were experiencing during our time, that will offer a window for the new current Gen Z and future Gen Zs, new window to wow. My grandmother was also a Gen Z, and in her time, these were her imaginations, experiences, and what happened, like in real life, all that. So, if we do it right, I think this could be a bestseller, and the revenue of it could come back to us to enrich this process. So let's make this a bestseller by writing down what were we doing, how was our Gen Z period, and we will hopefully attract a very good editorial team for this and make it the bestseller or a useful book volume, if not just a collection of stories on the website. So volume 2. We are now, which I will show in more in coming slides, we are coming to a point of collapse unless we regenerate. So that's my conclusion. So could Nepal and the greater Himalayan bioregions be the global, I already talked about the global, local, and the local hubs for food, flavors, and fibers? And I will, little later in one slide, I will explain why the food, flavors, and fibers are already given gift by nature to Nepal and the Himalayan region. And why not we focus on those and go to the local market? First, consume ourselves, and then feed our host, guests, and the pilgrims who come to visit us for seminars, for pilgrimage, all that. And many Nepali diaspora people are coming back to Nepal. Now we have a news that places like Manang and Mustang are, like any other mountain areas, are now flooded by thousands of internal Nepali, diasporic Nepalese and other tourists. But they are avoiding places like Pokhara and Kathmandu, and now we need to get a sense why is that happening, because people are no longer interested in polluted cities, too much noise. So we might again also have to shift our tourism focus to those pilgrimage and areas where there is much more life left to observe and be part of. So volume 3 could be harvest, retain, and recharge. That's what I call it, and I have some slides to show you that. Nepali Himali 6,666 waterways. That's just a number. People officially say there are 6,000, but I made it 666. Streams and waterways and ponds, watersheds, rivers and streams as foundations of water and biodiversity based civilizations for the troubled world. So this is going to be significant aspect of our offering and our articulation, digging in. What do we have? Because we have such a big Himalayan range with ice, which is melting very fast, and that many rivers and streams flowing down from it. But we could take that as an asset and create a watershed-based, river-based civilizations. And up to now, we have been talking about Kali Gandaki civilization and Karnali civilization, and the kind of people that are coming. I think we could also do Sunkosi civilization, not at the total Kosi system, but the Sunkosi just east of Kathmandu Valley, where Panauti system, the Rosi, the Melamchi, the Indravati, and the Botikosis, they are in a very, very vertex situation with floods and landslides and all that. And I think Nangmindra Dahalji is from that area, was born in uh, Okaldunga, yes. And then Yuvraj Sangrolaji also has a farm somewhere there. Uh, Dr. Karma Tamang is also from that area. So we have quite a lot. So we begin to gather the disaster that has happened in the river systems, as well as how we could create river-based civilizations. So volume 4 could be around living learning laboratories, which I have been expressing and sharing with you. And please, uh, I will even maybe post it again. What I am imagining is along these watersheds, like the Kali Gandaki and the Karnali and let's say Sunkosi system, we could create living learning laboratories and design hubs. So Nepal and Greater Himalayan bioregion and those hubs could be demonstrating what could be offered as the excellent practice of health and healing, housing and shelter. Health and healing, we already have places like Rajahar in Nawalparasi, which are demonstrating successfully how to offer health and healing in a very, very natural environment through water-based, mud-based therapies and all, and food. The food they offer there is part of the healing. Same way, we have a lot of innovation already demonstrated by Abari, Nirpal Adhikari and his team on housing shelter with bamboo and wood and rocks and mud and other fibers. So we will emphasize those, pilgrimage and hospitality. So basically, now imagine that in each category, thematic areas, we will bring hundreds of stories, okay, in a plurimedia format, not wording. I think people are getting tired of words, but actual people doing, how they do it, what is the design, how successful has it been, what else could be done, like that. The other one that many of our contributors and participants, including Professor Alok Bohra, has been emphasizing on this thing called governance, rule of law, what happened, why the system became so corrupt and cannot deliver service. Although there are thousands and thousands of party leaders, party cadres, thousands of bureaucrats, and thousands of technocrats, and INGOs and NGOs. But what is missing is the dilemma right now. Why are services, quality services, not being delivered? Why is the budget, whatever the budget is, my estimate so far suggests that about 45 to 65% of the budget, any budget, let's say $100, 45 to $65 has been evaporated before it even is allocated. So someone is saying, I will sign this paper, but I need this much. And it is minimum 45% and maximum up to 65%. Then now imagine if a person signs that paper by giving the 45 to 65% already, this person who gets it signs that paper at the receiving end will also be corrupt, right? Because the whole thing started with corruption. And I think the Gen Z this time and Weber was angry and seeing this showed some of that, like those corrupt monies, dollars and rupees were deposited somewhere and they came out of the windows. So this is a serious, serious situation. So it is not just the individuals, I think, it is the whole governance system. And I urge and invite all the political observers and enthusiasts to look at our 257 plus years of Nepali state system. We started in 1768. And a theory suggests, very interestingly, that after 250 years of work and existence, any system begins to be kind of ruin itself. And now let's look at Nepalese system that is 257 years plus old. And American system is not far behind. It was let's say the new America that became independent was 1776. That is exactly 250 years now. And as you can see, our president, Donald Trump, is dismantling every element of that system. So it might not be just the Nepali or the US state, it might be the age of a system. If it is beyond 250 years, it loses its vitality. Does it? If so, we need to completely rethink and not look at it as a conspiracy theory, but more as a healing to a system that is ailing, that is dying. What else could it be? So take this as a great door of opportunity. So there could be other thematic areas which I think many people will be contributing and we will know. For example, I could be very interested in two other thematic topics. One is in my diagnosis of a Nepali situation and the top heavy bureaucratic, technocratic, corrupt system of delivery which cannot deliver, we might need to devolve the whole power, resources, and responsibility to municipal level. That would be my proposal. I will be writing a chapter on that. Or a whole new volume could be created called A Recipe for Municipalities. So the power devolves to the municipal level, and the municipal actors do not rely on vertical loyalty to the party boss, but more horizontal collaboration with other municipalities along the watershed. This is how I am imagining. Huh? Please do not think it is conspiracy. I'm trying to find a solution to a system that is now almost impossible to handle. Okay? And I have a good sense of a Nepali system, by the way. As a young man, I was very much in dreaming and designing a democratic system, and I was a friend of very, very intellectual political leaders and thought leaders at that time. So I have a sense. So imagine now there are, let's say, 35 municipalities along the Kali Gandaki corridor from Mustang all the way to Chittavan and Navalparasi. And in between are Tanahu and Sangja and Palpa and Parbat and Baglong, right, and Magdi. If these 35 municipals were creating a kind of a loose of umbrella to say we want to create a Kali Gandaki civilization together, and what the upstream municipalities there in Baglung, Magdi, Mustang, and Parbat, how could they collaborate with downstream districts and municipalities like Tanahu, Navalparasi, Chiton? That could be much more effective way of municipalities working together to the common end of how to keep the Kali Gandaki water system and cultural system alive. Do you see? Rather than the Pradesh structure, which I think at this point might be counterproductive. The other thematic area that I would like to propose is Nepal and the Himalayan region, not as the periphery of the empire, Chinese and the Indian empire, but more as the source of Indian and Chinese civilizations, which historically is actually the case. So, what the seventh volume, or one of the thematic areas could be doing is actually Nepal and the Himalayan region, places like Bhutan, parts of northern India, hosting of civilizational dialogue forum, engaging the Indian civilizational matrix as well as the Chinese civilizational matrix, and demonstrating how those actually had Himalayan and the mountain roots. So that will be very interesting to look at. So anyway, I would like to welcome any other suggestion, but I would like, from today on, I would like to invite each of you to begin thinking, writing, and next week we will offer a writing workshop by two very successful writers in Nepali, that is Ramesh Basalji and Jivan Chetri, and please join them, or it will be recorded and you can see how they write it so successfully like that. Okay. So one of the methodologies that I use as a professor, as a thought leader, as an intellectual, is I look at how people respond or think in three ways. One is inside the box, that is easy, right? Get a job, be successful, have a license, da 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 da, be a good citizen, follow the rule, whatever. Then some of us are working outside the box, right? Creating another design, like let's say Nirpal Adhikari of Abari, going back to Nepal from US university and saying, I want to build a house with a bamboo. That is outside the box, right? Because everybody is building house inside with the cement, and right? And I like the third one, that is as if there is no box. So I am always straddling between outside the box. Of course, I'm always outside the box, and I will write that in that first volume, the When I Was a Gen Z. and but I most only work with, there is no box. Why should we always be inside the box and outside the box? Just imagine things that are already not in the box yet. For example, imagining Karnali watershed, Karnali civilization, Kaligandaki civilization, Sunkosi civilization, is definitely not only outside the box, but as if there is no box, because it's beyond the district, it's beyond the municipalities, you see, it's beyond the federal idea. And in a Kaligandaki, we might collaborate with China and Tibet and India as a sharing the same river, waterways, That is a probably better way to collaborate rather than just doing diplomatic hustling, bustling, and all that. So anyway, that's example of outside the box. No, there is no box. But what I think is happening is that since 2020 or November of 2019, something big, huge, significant change has happened all over the world in our biosphere. And I use that as a diagnostic tool, and you will see my writing on this very simple, hopefully usable way. I call it the combined climate coronaviruses disruptions. And this is important because if we do not see that something significant change has happened, we will always go to the old style of solving the problem, which actually the reality has changed. Okay, for example, do you see the earth has become feverish? In Nepali, Joro ayo, Prithvi line Joro ayo, right? Wandering and mutating viruses, coronavirus and pig virus and the chicken virus, you see, and the long COVID. Do you see how people's body have changed? The body of the soil has changed because of the temperature rise. The water quality has changed. That is why we have wildfires. We have off-season, erratic, at downpour rains, atmospheric waters, like Mark was saying is happening in Portland, Oregon right now, resulting into floods, landslides, soil erosion and loss of soil carbon in topsoils, loss of biodiversity, species extinction. These are just a few which you have experienced more than what can be described in words. So, in this very different ecosystem of our reality, we still are thinking what used to work in 1985 or 2005. We're still thinking that should just be working. Why should I be rethinking, right? But I think we need to now accept, embrace the idea that reality has changed and we need to change in our thinking, in our way, how we eat, how we breathe, how we get a job, all that. So, what am I not seeing then? Is my mind frozen? There are some questions you might want to uh, put it on your notebook. What am I not feeling? Is my sensing distorted by a frozen heart? What action grounded in this deep seeing and sensing am I not co initiating? For example, the kind of ideas that we have covered in this online forum is about the new reality, new possibility, and it could be considered as in a three-way. One is it's a wake-up call that something like that, the climate changing and coronavirus is spreading, is a big wake-up call. It's of course a crisis multiplier because everything is undone, but could it be opportunity multiplier? That is where we are focusing. That is why this website and the volumes organized will be offering those design ideas and possible pathways. So let's look into Nepal a little bit. Nepal in 2025. What I see is 15 assets are amazing for Nepal as a unit, as a political, cultural, economic unit, and but more and more we might have to be attached to horizontally with the Himalayan other areas of the third pole. Okay, so 15 assets, but I think there are 5 liabilities, deep, deep weaknesses, which we will begin to dig deeper. What are our liabilities? Although we are one of, but we have 15 assets and strengths and possibilities. So we need to take care of the liabilities, make them less, and less, and enrich and enhance those 15 strengths and assets, right? For example, just to give you an example, each of you have your own way of assembling what those 15 assets are and 5 liabilities are. For example, Nepal as the nation state I talked about 257 years might be needing a massive, deep rethinking about how to deliver services fast, effective, quality, in a world where the information is everywhere. A 16-year-old in Dolpa, northern Dolpa, has the same information if she knows as I do. She is much more efficient in using that than me because of the generational advantage. In this new environment, how should state, the power, the resources be devolving towards, because these people already have information, they can self-organize, do you see? And this is what Generation Z are telling us now. And one of the films that I shared with you, like last week, remember? There, the Mongolia Nepalese case were the same. Is in Mongolia, youth begin to see the corruption in the government, and they begin to share information. And then 5,000 people, youth came in one meeting. Then they had one notice, one, just like how Balen sends a Facebook little sentence, right? And out of 3.7 million people, that is very small population, 2.2 people had read what was posted there. Do you see how impactful that is? 2.2 million out of 3.7 million population saw, shared, understood the message. So this is the kind of new society, new environment we are in. So our political system has to completely devolve, not decentralize anymore, devolving. My proposal is devolving at the municipal level, create, creating their capabilities so they can actually deliver services and manage their ecosystem in the best way. And we have another liability and asset. It's kind of mixed. That is, Nepal is a laureate desh. The people have, Nepali people have been recruited in Indian and British army for a long, long time. That is our reality. And that might be one of the impetus that 40% of Nepalese are now in diaspora, permanently, long term, and short term. And now we might have to also rethink about how to connect with these people who are already in diaspora, some of them settling in US, Australia, Europe, like myself and Professor Alok and hundreds of others. How could we create a bridge between diasporic Nepalese so that they feel secure and enthusiastic and honored to be linked with Nepal more deeply, and also be able to invest our talent, our resources, what we have. So that needs to be done. And one of the brightest part of Nepal and Nepalese I see is we are inborn performers. Those dances and singing in the mountains are now becoming our one of the best asset in a digital age and economy. This is fascinating, and all of us, let's bring those stories together. What was it to sing and dance all night for 7 days in a Magar village or a Tamang village, right? Now, in the digital age, that can become a global asset. That could be a global economy, part of the global economy. But we are inbuilt as a performers, as a singers, as dancers. So that is coming out even in our movies lately, which could be a global asset at this point. And we will talk more. Same thing. I'm just giving it, the Laure and the Sahib and the Shore economy for flight and out migration, which is partly a liability because there are not enough skilled people, youth in Nepal to create that new economy. But at the same time, they are somewhere else learning those skills and getting some resources. And if they were brought back in the right way, Nepal can take off within 5 years. But we also have a liability called prestige. I call it the prestige economy. Is people are just showing off their watches, which I don't wear anymore, the dress. Like the Nepalese are one of the best dressed people, the ruling class. I'm wondering why should they be dressed so much and showing their watches. And as Professor Alok Bora has already shared with us, pages and pages, pages, chapters and chapters called elite overproduction. Yes, it has happened in Nepal. We need each person to be productive rather than giving orders. Okay, so how do you change that? That might be a very difficult, one of the difficult aspects, but we need to do it. And the caste and the corruption is related, which I will explain in my writings. So, overall, what I find is Nepalese and Himali people are resilient people searching for a dignified life, living and thriving amidst their active participation in globally networked economy. And the good news on this part is that some of the youth are already staying in Nepal but participating in global IT economy, digital economy, and even one of the Nepalese and maybe 50 other youth are already involved in one of the most innovative frontier of artificial intelligence. I think his name is Samir Maske or someone. That that is already happening. So Nepali youth are already knowing that you don't have to leave your country anymore. You can stay there, but participate in the dollar economy, the global economy, and many are already doing it. So that's the part of the opportunity multiplier. So if it is helpful, I will give you my way of how to observe what is unfolding very fast and how we could create those opportunity multiplier opportunities. So my method, you know that concept of there is a method in my madness. Let's see if I have a method, right? So first of all, my diagnostic tool is, I call it CCCDS, that is the Combined Climate Coronaviruses Disruptions, as a diagnostic tool to adapt, and engage in the process of DDDs. Diagnosis, dream, and dream should be wildest, design, and delivery. This is how my professorial mind works. In order to regenerate LLLS, that is life systems, livelihood, learning, and leadership, I actually teach, write, and offer my advising through in those areas through the cultivation of EEs: embodiment, empowerment, entanglement, emotional regulation, engagement, enablement, enactment. Do you see how these are all moving towards devolved power and resources and enable the people at the base, the production base, what they need to create a successful life rather than fly away from your reality. And it can go much deeper into your body system, health, healing system. These are called metabolism, motivation, motion, meridians of the meta earth and our bodies. And that comes, I can share all those models with you. That actually, and there are more slides where Just like how human, each body have several organs, the biosphere, the earth also has those organs. And I will show you in order to become beneficial to the biosphere, the biomass, and that can be microbiomass, meso, macro, biofields, bioregions, bioculturalities, and biomass, including the bamboo and the wood and the forest and the medicinal plants we are talking about. So anyway, this is my internal mapping, a kind of method in my madness. So at this point, how I look at it is we have an option to ignore what is happening to the biosphere and the climate and the coronaviruses and all the craziness going on and just continue what we used to do and get fail, or we become homeschooled by the planet. So this is very, very deep. We can upcycle to regenerate, or we can downcycle to degenerate. So some of the things so far I have covered, we need to change our world view, how we see the world. Our world used to be, because we are part of the Enlightenment, the so called idea of enlightenment based on human is supreme, to now we need a new worldview, new eye view, that is, life is supreme, not human, because each second of life is made not only by human, but what the I call it the pluri-species assemblages. That is, everything is made of several hundred thousand species working together to make this breathing, to make my digestion. Do you see? So take our view away from human as the supreme at the top of the food chain and energy chain and command. No, no, no. Life should be our primary category to redesign, to rethink. For that, we need to regenerate waves of life through the vitals of the biosphere, ethnosphere, that is what we do as a human, and the learning and stewardship sphere. That's where a lot of new innovation will come in how to learn, how to lead, how to create a new generation of leaders who are designers, not proposers, not protesters too much, but that based on carbon, soil, water, climate waves. Soil, food, health waves, wood wide waves, and our unit of operation could be water shades, food shades, fiber shades, energy shades. And it is strange to me, no political thought leaders, the people who wrote about politics and Nepali society, never address these issues, and this is one of the strangest gap that I find. Why? Why didn't they see it? Why they only talked about the class and the caste and the ideologies borrowed from books? And we need to fill that vacuum. And we need to draw down that extra carbon dioxide, which we will find hundreds of examples which we can actually do. So one of the things that could be central to the Himalayas is how we manage water. So I have a provocative question. Could Nepalese Himalayan self-reliance be staged and regenerated one water drop at a time? And I will show you those models. That way I will explain a little later. Ah, let's look into this system. Do you see our vertical abundance, right? From Machapuchre to the different layers that feels like Lachok, and uh, remember how Nepalese landscape is, right? High Himalayas, then the lower Himalayas, then the Mahabharat range, then river systems, valleys, then another range, another Chure, goes like this. But that rather than becoming an obstacle and a barrier to our new way of life, we could turn that into opportunity. So I offer you a framework which I think you can look at it closely when this will be available on YouTube. You can pause it and then see what I'm saying. But do you see how I'm looking at it? Is this vertical diversity can be a source of our abundance if we design it right. So I see this as a socio-ecological households, economic ecological households, and socio-economic households. If we look at this landscape and people being there as a combined pluri-species assemblage, we can actually create. Think about designing forest, flood, soil, carbon, climate, drawdown, turn landslide into flood, bhal mal banaउने, into agroecological nutrients. And good thing is now we have hundreds of examples, thousands of examples of how actually people do it all over the world and in Nepal. So we want to, through our volume and website, we want to bring those examples so people can look at it, learn from. Same thing, social mobilization, regenerative leadership, learning, municipalities, metros, bioregions. Bioregion, as I was talking about, like the Kaligandaki watershed, Karnali watershed, Sunkosi watershed. And based on this, you can create entrepreneurs, livelihoods, regenerative enterprises. It's all there. And I can now show you even more detail. I think at the core of Nepalese and the Himalayan landscape, a new strategy of abundance and good life while participating in global, remember, we are actually part of already connected to the global economy. We can create abundance right there and have knowledge, as much knowledge and skill and design we need right there from your wherever you are. If we retain water, we harvest water and retain water and recharge water. That brings a whole cycle of amazing attributes. What they are? It turns floods into nutrient. In Nepali, we call that bhallai mal banaune. And through that nutrient, you can have a new garden, new farm, new rice field, and other agroecological enterprises, like, for example, in a place called Kihu in Tanahu, where a group of us are thinking about demonstrating this whole cycle. And we will also have their medicinal gardens in a large scale, where we will also process the for example, timur, that Sichuan pepper of Nepal, it grows there. So we will have timur tincture, timur liquid, timur powder, timur achar, on and on and on. But we need to first take care of the water system, okay? Then integrate bamboo, agroforestry, farming, gardening in that village demonstration, new village, where we are expecting many of the old who had migrated out of Kihu come back to remain and to be part of this new experiment of how to create a Nepali village with ecological and cultural and economic design. Most of the houses will be built with bamboo and wood and rocks and mud. Very little cement, maybe 3 to 5% use of cement for flooring, or even maybe less than that. Create regenerative employment, livelihood, and we call it ecopreneurs or eco-entrepreneurs, whatever you call it. Regenerative curriculum starting with the fourth grades up to college, and for out of school youth as Annapurna Regeneration Fellows. Let's hope this is actually going to happen. But a team of us are working from beginning so that we do not just do haphazardly. Everything is in place. Water does what water has to do. The plants do what plant have to do. The bamboo does what the bamboo has to do. The fruits of the wild like apple and jamun and kamun do and dumri have to do what they have to do in this system. So use a complete whole systems design, which I now have a prototype, but each of you will have to bring your one, but I am sharing with you my model. And in this curriculum that many of you probably have seen some of my videos, if not, please do. I have probably 10 videos just on how we can change our learning into creating a learning ecosystem. Please listen to this carefully. It's not the textbook and the teacher who teaches, okay? We need to change that view. We need to create a learning ecosystem so children and youth, the learners, learn themselves how to create an ecosystem. We need to create a water ecosystem so water does what water can do. We need to create ecosystem where plants do what plants can do. Animals do what animals can do. Do you see how it is? Right now, in our design, that is disrupted. Something got kind of destroyed. Sequester carbon, that I will be explaining at some session in the future. What is sequestering carbon? What is that extra carbon dioxide? How can that be brought into the soil and the water and forest, and that becomes a nutrient, meaning the thing which was bad now can be turned into which is good. Okay. Biochar. We have among our group already, we have about 20 of us who are working on enriching soil. माटोलाई मलिलो कसरी बनाउने. We have 20 different methods, including biochar, CWDC, uh, our old idea of using cow dung, on and on. Basically, we need to think about that top 6 inch of soil should be like a sponge. So it gives nutrient to the plants as well as it sequesters the carbon. And design is with us, and we will be working on those design and enhance biocultural diversity, create diverse culinary, nutritional, agro-medicinal, and craft economy. Imagine that. And that was part of the volume 2, remember? Food, flavor, and fiber. We are gifted by nature. We just need to know how to harvest it in a right way so that we do not destroy when we harvest. We harvest in a way, there is a whole harvest technology design. Harvest in a way so next year it will be more than this year. And next year it will be much more than next. Do you see? We need to know how to harvest. And some of our ancestors exactly knew how to do that. So I will, in one session, I will be talking about that. So if you could, when you will have this YouTube, in this session on YouTube, please pause and look at, and as our double note taking, I would request each of you to, on the left side, look at what I am proposing or other design models are proposing. And on the right side of your page, please write down what does that mean for your house, for your body, for your village, for your town, wherever. So become an active learner. I think I'm going to share this as the end for today. So bamboo economy. Just like how Nepal has the cow as the national animal and the rhododendron laliguras as the national flower, I am proposing bamboo should be our national grass. Bamboo is just a grass, you know that, right? Because bamboo all over the Himalayas, including Sichuan and the Yunnan area of China, Tibet, Myanmar, eastern part of India, western part of India, Nepal, Bhutan, bamboo just is one of the abundantly growing plant. Now, through this whole system perspective, how does bamboo look like? Let's look at it very, very closely. Bamboo could be a source of food, right? You have probably all of you have eaten tama, right? The fermented bamboo shoot, right? It can be medicine and it can be nutrient. Look at the that upper left part, right, at the center. Then it can be a stabilizer of the landslide, meaning it will make the landslide from our very slopey landscape stable, so there will be less landslide. And from bamboo, you can have so much economy. You can build houses, you can bring fiber, you make your own clothes, you can have all the utensils, you can have furniture out of bamboo, which our ancestors were very, very good at using bamboo in 10 different ways. And also, bamboo could be planted, as has been demonstrated by Abari team in Madi, Chitawan, that if you put the bamboo forest by the flooding stream or a river, that will control the flood, and with a little bit of design, you can bring that flooded water to the garden and the fields, agricultural fields. And now imagine the flood has a lot of nutrient from the path, patinger, the leaf and litters for all. Like, remember, in July, it is now flooded, and let's harvest it and put it into the field. Do you see how it is? So it could be a so livelihood can be created through housing, timber, fiber, furniture, clothing, fabric, household, like that. Integrate with agro, not only bamboo, but we could, for example, in that place in Kihu, what we are thinking is create such a rich agroforestry, agroecology, agro bamboo, agro fruit, agro medicinal, all integrated in one as a single system. What might be the problem with Nepali planning right now is the forest department doesn't know what hydro department does and doesn't care. You see, water department. The school doesn't know what the municipal is doing or the forestry department is doing. Do you see how sad it is? It's all silo, separated. We need to bring them all together so the water is abundant because we have done the agroforestry and agroecology right. And because the water hydrology is in the right place, we have better agroforestry, agroecology, income, health. Do you see how? Sure. Whole systems analysis, whole system design. That's what this forum is good for. And we will bring hundreds of examples. And we have problem of climate, right? All the temperature rising, and which I discussed a little bit before. But if you do this bamboo and the water and agroforestry and agroecology in the right way, it will sequester that excess carbon, bring it a bad thing into good thing. So that sequestered carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases will be a nutrient for your plant, for your soil. Imagine that, for your forest. So we can integrate climate drawdown, biomass for land and soil, and based on that, we can create also a medicinal and culinary diversity. Everybody having enough medicine, and even for our guests, and selling overseas wherever there is demand. And now through internet, you can sell it. You see, you can get the price right and create a health healing economy all over our landscape. And my proposal is we do that through following a watershed like the Kaligandaki, like the Karnali, like the Sunkosi. Hopefully, you are as excited about this new window of how we could be doing. And let me, if we do those design right and create the kind of life and a livelihood, learning and a new leadership, the kind of political mess that we are feeling like we are right now in Nepal and Himalayan region between China and the India and the US and the we will solve those. We will tell them, look, we have figured out how to handle all our climatic situation, our biodiversity, our people, employment. You guys just don't worry about us. We could, we could tell them, okay? So we could influence them and we could become a guru nation rather than a guru nation. So, okay, so maybe I will end with this. Just like in our human body, we have heart, we have lungs, right? We have kidneys, we have pancreas, we have digestive system. Look at the body of the earth. Look, it has 17 internal organs. There could be hundreds, but the major ones. And out of that, do you see? Two are very central in where we are in the Nepal and the Himalayas. Indian monsoon system and the Tibetan plateau, the whole Himalayan range with the snow and ice and desert, most part, that is very instrumental in regulating the biospheric climate, the climate of the whole world. They are more important or equally important as the Amazon rainforest. Do you see that there? Boreal forest, Greenland, Arctic, Antarctic, and what is happening between the ocean currents. So this I will have to explain this in another session, very like a different session. But for now, imagine the biosphere as a super organism. If you are a organism in itself, the biosphere is a super organism and it needs to take care. And we can be either beneficial member of this drama or a harmful member. We can no longer afford to be harmful. We need to be beneficial, but how? This is where the question is. And through this design and resources for how to handle all this, we will be contributing and hopefully creating a new generation of Nepalese and people in the Himalayan region who will be more beneficial to their own process, their own economy, and the life of the biosphere. So I want to conclude that for today's session. To be continued, several other ideas are still here. So I would like maybe 5-10 minutes for our general discussion. If there are any questions or discussion points or any contributions, let me open that for maybe 10 more minutes. Hello? Any any anyone wanting to comment or engage or contribute? Narayanji, are you there? Head sir? Maybe you could contribute. Hello. Looks like people did not like what I said, or what happened. Kibo.
परमेश्वर राम्रो छ, सुनिरहेको छु मैले।
ए ल ल, तपाईँलाई कुन कुरा अलि युजफुल अथवा रमाइलो के लाग्यो?
मलाई लागेको चाहिँ सरले उठाउनु भएको एन्टरप्रेन्योरसिपको विषय र त्यसलाई आवश्यक पर्ने सपोर्टिभ इन्भाइरोमेन्टको विषय मन परेको छ।
हजुर, त्यसमा पानीबाट नै सुरु गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने तपाईँलाई कस्तो लाग्यो?
हजुर,
त्यो कुरा हो?
पानी, सोयल, एयर यिनीहरूको कुरा त राम्रो छ नि सर। रेस्टोरेटिभ टेक्निकबाट अगाडि बढ्नुपर्छ, नभए बिग्रेर जाने भयो भन्ने विषय त धेरै चित्तबुद्ध छ नि।
अनि सल्यानको परिस्थितिमा यो मिल्छ? यो मोडेल मिल्छ? काम गर्न सकिन्छ?
कल्याणमा पनि सर यस्तो छ, कपुरकोट हजुरले सुन्नुभयो होला, त्यहाँ धेरै नै तरकारी उत्पादन हुने ठाउँ हो, तर रासायनिक मलले अहिले बिस्तारै
हो।
अब त्यो चाहिँ अब त्यो फर्टिलिटी हराउँदै गएको छ।
हजुर,
अनि असाध्यै राम्रो सुन्तला हुने ठाउँमा सुन्तला हुन छोडेको छ भनेपछि त्यहाँ के उपाय लगाउने भन्ने विकल्प त सोच्नुपर्ने छ।
यस।
त्यो हुनाले सर यी विषयहरू चाहिँ इन टाइम आउन सक्यो भने धेरैलाई उद्धार हुन्छ।
ल, गजबको कुरा आयो र अहिले मैले सोचेको अनुसार है, अब यसको लागि
हजुर
कसैको आशीर्वाद त चाहियो होइन, आउला त्यो आशीर्वाद। कि
हजुर
काली गण्डकी करिडोर, र तपाईँहरू त कर्णालीमा पर्नुहुन्छ होला होइन, मा
घरको हिसाबले
विभिन्न
काले गण्डकी हो,
विभिन्न
गाउँको
ठाउँमा
हिसाबले
हामीले
कर्णाली।
हामीले मोडेलहरू बनाउनु पर्यो कि।
एकदम हो सर।
हजुर, ल, सल्यानमा हामी म अब मार्च र मेमा नेपालमै हुन्छु, तपाईँहरूकोमा आएर। तर अहिलेदेखि नै तपाईँले पानीलाई
हजुर
कसरी हार्भेस्ट गर्ने, रिटेन
हो
गर्ने र रिचार्ज गर्नेमा नै नेपालको भविष्य छ। मेरो मेरो
हो
निकै
सर, त्यो
गहिरो
मोडेलमा
अध्ययनबाट भनेको
असाध्यै
छु
बुझ्नु
मैले।
गराउनु जरुरी छ।
हजुर,
अस्ति नै त्यो चाइनिज मोडेल पनि मैले हेरेको थिएँ, त्यसलाई हाम्रो लेभलमा कम्प्रिहेन्ड गर्न चाहिँ सक्ने गरी गर्नु पर्यो सर।
यस, एक्ज्याक्टली। अब यो
हजुर
वेबसाइट र भोल्युममा हामी यी सबै कुराहरू अब ल्याउँछौँ।
हजुर सर।
चाइनामा यस्तो
हुन्छ
भएको
सर।
छ, मङ्गोलियामा यस्तो भएको छ, कस्तारिकामा यस्तो भएको छ, पेरुमा यस्तो नराम्रो पनि भएको छ, तर राम्रो पनि भएको
हो
छ, देखाउनु पर्यो नि। अब
हो सर हो।
नेपालीहरूले अब प्लानिङ कमिसनको मान्छेले प्रोजेक्ट ल्याउला, हामी खाम्ला भनेर नपर्खनुहोस्। अब
हो
प्रत्येक स्कुलमा, प्रत्येक
हजुर
म्युनिसिपालिटीमा, प्रत्येक वार्डमा, प्रत्येक सिडिओले यी मोडेलहरू गाउँ गाउँमा, सहर सहरमा लैजानु पर्यो।
सही कुरा हो सर, सही कुरा
ल
हो। फिल्ड
ल,
लेभलमै टेस्ट हुनुपर्छ।
एक्ज्याक्टली। र त्यसको लागि नमुनाहरू पनि हामी बनाउँछौँ। काली गण्डकी, त्यसमा हाम्रो किहुमा एउटा टिम, हाम्रो नारायण सर, हेड सर र म र अरू धेरै टिम त्यहाँ
हजुर
अहिले यो सोचाइमा लागिराखेका छौँ कि त्यो त्यसमा एउटा हामीले प्रस्तुत गर्न सक्यौँ भने। लुक्स लाइक हेम ढकालजी, यु वान्ट टु सेयर समथिङ?
म अलिकति ढिलो जोइन भएँ, त्यति
ए ए
सबै त सुन्न पाएन, तर मैले अलिकति सुने, त्यो मलाई एकदमै मन पर्यो ब्याम्बो इकोनोमीको
हजुर
बारेमा।
हजुर,
तर चाहिँ हजुरले जुन लास्टमा भन्नुभयो नि त्यो अझै मन पर्यो, लास्टको पोइन्ट।
यस।
त्यो भनेको चाहिँ यो अहिले एआई को जमानामा धेरै कुरा त अब उपलब्ध नै हुन्छ,
हजुर,
तर त्यसलाई चाहिँ त्यसको एक्सनमा लिनको लागि त्यो ग्याप देखिन्छ के।
यस
त्यो
यस
भनेको जुन हजुरले जुन मोडल बनाउने भन्नुभयो नि, मेरो
यस।
विचारमा चाहिँ मोर देन 60% टाइम चाहिँ त्यतातिर जानुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्छ के।
ओ हो
किन भन्नुहुन्छ जस्तै म कर्णाली प्रदेशको, अब यहाँ नारायण सिगदेलजी पनि देखिरहेको छु मैले।
हो हो।
अनि अब त्यहाँ चाहिँ अब बरु सानो सानो मोडलहरू जति भयो, जस्तै नारायणजीले गर्नुभएको छ त्यहाँ त्यसले गर्दाखेरि कस्तो हुन्छ भन्नुहुन्छ भने, यो हामीले त्यसलाई पहिला त्यो मोडेल बनाएर अनि त्यसै मोडेल भित्रबाट हामीले त्यो अरू चाहिँ थ्योरिटिकल नलेज चाहिँ बिल्डअप गर्दै गइयो भने
हो।
त्यसले राम्रो हुन्छ भन्ने मलाई लाग्छ। त्यसले
यस
युवाहरूको पनि, नत्र युवाहरूको आकर्षणै हुँदैन। हेर्नुहोस् होइन,
यस यस।
युवाहरू चाहिँ अब आजकल यस्तो कुराहरू मैले एकदम एकदमै त्यहाँको रियालिटी मैले बुझे अनुसार त्यहाँ धेरै कुराहरू भन्दा पनि उनीहरूले त्यही टक्क 5 सेन्सेस नै युज हुने देख्न चाहन्छन् कि पहिला
Yes,
हैन
yes.
दे वान्ट टु फिल दे वान्ट टु हियर दे वान्ट टु सी एभ्रिथिङ
हजुर
त्यो भएर मलाई लाग्छ कि एकदमै महत्त्वपूर्ण हो आजको एकदमै राम्रो तरिकाले त्यो प्रस्तुत गर्नुभएको छ अब अरू सम्भावना भनेको मैले देखेको भनेको जस्तै अब हेम्पको चाहिँ लिगल्ली अहिले त्यो छैन छ न त नत्र हेम्पको पनि एकदमै राम्रो सम्भावना देखिन्छ
तर
हेम्पको पनि
कपडा फाइबरको रूपमा त अहिले धेरै भइसकेको छ हेम्पको प्रयोग
हजुर भएको छ तर अब त्यसलाई मेडिसिनलको रूपमा
अह
अरूको रूप त्यसको हेम्पको त प्रयोग त कति छ हजारौँ छ
त्यो
नि त्यो
पनि
त
अब नयाँ लेट्से अब 6 महिनामा एउटा नयाँ सरकारकै आउला र
हजुर
त्यो त्यो नयाँ सरकारको नयाँ इच्छा हाम्रो अनुसार मिल्दै गयो भने हेम्पलाई मेडिसिनल युज गर्ने लिगल गर्ने सम्भावना पनि ठुलै छ
हजुर
राइट ल
हजुर
गजब ल यो अब युट्युबमा त एभाइलेबल हुन्छ अनि अझै विस्तृत डिटेलहरू त्यसमै हेर्नु होला है त अनि नारायण सर केही भन्न चाहनुहुन्छ ल मदन मदन हुनुहुन्छ
हजुर गुरु नारायणम सम्पूर्णमा नमस्कार
आशीर्वाद ल कस्तो छ के भइरहेछ आज सोचाइ
एकदमै मैले सबै पोइन्टहरू त हेर्न पाइनँ तर
ओके
धेरै कुराहरू अगाडि पनि आइरहेकै छ होइन
हजुर
अब मैले अघि एमजीले नै भनेको कुरालाई अझै फोकस गर्न चाहेँ यो चाहिँ यो हाम्रो चाहिँ ग्रुप कसरी इमर्ज हुनु पर्यो भने अब
हजुर
आउने दिनमा
या
हामी चाहिँ कम्युनिटी अफ बेस्ट प्र्याक्टिसको रूपमा इमर्ज हुनु पर्यो होइन
यस
जहाँ चाहिँ हामी बेस्ट प्र्याक्टिस केही जुन हजुरको 4D फ्रेमवर्क छ डिजाइन
या
डेमोन्स्ट्रेट होला
या
त्यो डेमोन्स्ट्रेट पार्टलाई चाहिँ हामी बढी फोकस गरेर
पहिलो ओके
स्मल स्केलमा पाइलोटिङ गरेर त्योबाट नै हामीले चाहिँ लार्ज स्केल कसरी
हजुर
त्यसलाई स्केल गर्न सकिन्छ त्यसमा चाहिँ हामी विशेष जोड दिनुपर्ने छ किनभने हामीसँग अब समय नै धेरै छैन कि हामी चाहिँ धेरै यो अब थ्योरी डिराइभ गर्ने
या
फ्रेमवर्क डिराइभ गर्ने भन्दा पनि अब चाहिँ सिधै प्र्याक्टिकल
यस
अलरेडी हामीसँग भएका राम्रा कुराहरूलाई चाहिँ होइन अब अलिकति उजागर गरेर ल्याउने होइन त्यसलाई चाहिँ अगाडि बढाउने र त्यसैका आधारमा चाहिँ अब अरू विभिन्न ठाउँको बेस्ट प्र्याक्टिसहरूलाई मर्ज गरेर एउटा राम्रो चाहिँ नमुना बनाउने त्यही नमुनालाई चाहिँ रेप्लिकेट गर्ने विभिन्न ठाउँमा त्यही मोडलमै जानुपर्छ र यो चाहिँ एकदमै लिन र चाहिँ एकदमै द्रुत गतिमा
यस
हाम्रो गति चाहिँ एकदम तीव्र हुने माध्यम हामीलाई चाहियो
अब अचम्म मलाई के लाग्यो भने यो अनलाइन फोरम यी सबै होला र हामीले अब एकदम तुरुन्तै यसमा काम गर्न पाइन्छ होला भनेर जम्मै थाहा पाएर सुरु गरे होइन तर अहिले यसो हेर्दाखेरि एकदम टाइमलिनेस चाहिँ अचम्म देखियो नि नेपालमा क्राइसिस पनि अब योभन्दा बढी कति क्राइसिस हो नि र हामी सही खालका मान्छेहरू पनि एक ठाउँमा छौँ तर होमवर्कमा सबै तल्लीन हुनु पर्यो है मैले मात्रै गर्ने त त्यो सम्भव पनि हुँदैन गर्नु पनि हुँदैन मैले जानेको कुरा सेयर गर्ने हो अब तपाईँहरूको मदनजीको जेनेरेसनले जो कि अहिले 30sमा हुनुहुन्छ हाम्रो हरि ढकालजी जो कि अहिले 40sमा हुनुहुन्छ छविजी पनि सायद 50sमा हुनुहुन्छ होला होइन नारायण सिग्देल 60तिर सुरु गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ अब हामीले यसरी अब इन्ट्रा जेनेरेसनल सेयरिङ गरेर तपाईँहरूलाई छोडिदिने हो यो त्यो मैले गर्नुपर्नेको लागि म सबै तयार छु अब म यो भोल्युमहरूको टेबल अफ कन्टेन्ट पनि बनाउन थाल्छु र तपाईँहरूले भनेको कुरा ठिक हो कि यो डेमोन्स्ट्रेसन साइटहरू चाहिँ अलि धेरै ठाउँमा हुनु पर्यो होइन कर्णालीमा 2-3 ठाउँमा हुनु पर्यो कालीगण्डकीमा 2-3 ठाउँमा कमसेकम राइट सो एकदम ठिक छ अहिलेलाई हामी 6:45 करिब करिब अब बन्द गरे पनि हुन्छ अरू केही आइडियाहरू छ भने यो युट्युबमा चाँडै नै आउँछ र यसमा तपाईँले डिटेलहरू हेर्नु होला मसँग थुप्रै छ यति धेरै आइडियाहरू छ मसँग अब त्यो बिस्तारै बिस्तारै गर्नु पर्यो अनि अब आउने एक हप्तामा सन्डेमा फेरि सेसन गरौँ त्यसमा हाम्रो छविलालजीले जुम्लाको एग्रो इकोलोजी र फुड इकोनोमी कस्तो सम्भव छ, के गडबड भइरहेछ, कहाँ हामी हार्मफुल भइरहेछौँ, कहाँ बेनिफिसियल हुन सक्छौँ भनेर देखाउनुहुन्छ। त्यसपछि हाम्रो मार्कले उहाँले अमेरिकाको एउटा स्कुलमा एक्सपेरिएन्सियल र इकोलोजिकल तरिकाले कसरी पढाउनुहुन्छ। उहाँ हाई स्कुलको टिचर हो र मेरो पुरानो विद्यार्थी र साथी अहिले। उहाँ एकदम उत्सुक हुनुहुन्छ। उहाँलाई पनि यस्तै कामहरू गर्न सानैदेखि मन परेको। र उहाँको अर्को एउटा राम्रो काम के थियो भने रेस्टुराँको माथि छतमा रेस्टुराँमा सर्भ हुने भेजिटेबलहरू, सालदहरू, फ्रुटहरू उहरू उहाँले मोडेल निकालेर एकदम सिद्धै भएको 20 वर्ष 25 वर्षै भइसक्यो त्यो। यी सबै कुराहरू उहाँले सेयर गर्नुहुनेछ। अनि अब यो राइटिङहरूमा जानु पर्यो। हामीले कसरी लेख्ने, एकदम राम्रो भाषामा सरल उदाहरण दिएर त्यसको लागि हाम्रो दुईजना एकदम राम्रो राइटअप गरिसकेका, सिद्ध भइसकेका जीवन छेत्रीजी हुनुहुन्छ र रमेश भुषालजी हुनुहुन्छ। उहाँहरूले हामीलाई राइटिङ एक्सर्साइजहरू गर्नुहुन्छ। सायद हामी त्यो नोभेम्बर 9 पनि कन्टिन्यू गर्छौँ है त। अनि नयाँ आइडियाजहरू आउँदै जान्छ। अब मदनजी, हामीले एउटा वेबसाइटको बारेमा युवाहरूले सहयोग गर्नु पर्यो। वेबसाइटलाई इन्टरेक्टिभ र हामीसँग त अहिलेसम्म नै कति 5000वटा त विभिन्न लिङ्कहरू आइसक्यो। अब यसलाई अर्गनाइज गर्नु पर्यो। मदन र तपाईँले एउटा ग्रुप तयार गर्नु त, युथ ग्रुप, डिजिटलमा एकदम ऊ भएको, स्किल भएको। अनि हामी फिड गर्ने अनि अर्गनाइज गर्ने थीमेटिकल्ली होइन। सोयल इम्प्रुभमेन्ट 100वटा तरिकाले गर्न सकिन्छ। त्यसमा अलिकति हामीले भाषा दिउँला कि बायोचार भनेको यो हो। बायोचारमा हाम्रो नगमेन्द्र दाहालजी यस्तो हुनुहुन्छ, उहाँको भिडियो यहाँ छ। हामीले फेसिलिटेट गर्नु पर्यो कि लर्निङलाई, इन्फर्मेसनलाई। हो, बुझ्नुभयो? त्यस्तै CWDC भने के हो, कसरी बन्छ, नेपालमा कहाँ उपलब्ध छ, त्यो सबै एकदम इन्फर्मेटिभ। अब त्यो बौद्धिक रूपमा यस्तो उस्तोमा अब हामी नलागौँ, त्यो धेरै भयो नेपालमा त्यो।
म थोरै कुरा भनौँ।
हजुर हजुर भन्नुहोस्।
यो एकदम राम्रो हिसाबमा गएको जस्तो लाग्यो। मैले बिचमा धेरै सेसनहरू मिस गरेँ, तर चाहिँ एउटा एकदमै महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा मेरो हिसाबले सोद्धाखेरि कसरी लाग्छ भन्नुहुन्छ भने अरू क्वेसनको आन्सर चाहिँ आएको छ। एउटा टेन्टेटिभ खाका वेन र हु, यो कुरा भइदियो भने राम्रो हुन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ। जस्तै अघिको अब वेयरको कुरा पनि अलिअलि आयो, अब के हो कि कहाँ कुन ठाउँमा भन्ने कुरा। अब हामीले चाहिँ एक्ज्याक्टली यही टाइम नभने पनि कम्तीमा टेन्टेटिभली 3 महिनाभित्र अथवा 6 महिनाभित्र अथवा 1 वर्षभित्र र को चाहिँ त्यहीँको लगभग मान्नुहोस् कि 5 जना मान्छे भएर यो गर्ने। हामीलाई ब्याम्बु मान्नुहोस् कि ब्याम्बु फरेस्ट बनाउने भन्यो होइन, तर ल विदिन अ इयर वी आर क्रिएटिङ द्याट ब्याम्बु फरेस्ट। एउटा कन्क्रिट चाहिँ ठोस हुने हिसाबको र को इन्भल्भ हुने सानो कमिटी जस्तो। त्यसो गर्यो भने एकदमै त्यसको इम्प्याक्ट राम्रो हुन्छ भन्ने लाग्छ मलाई।
अब त्यसमा त ब्याम्बुमा त हाम्रो एकदम सबभन्दा उत्कृष्ट काम गरेकै हाम्रो निरपाल अधिकारीज्यू र उहाँको अभारी टिम। उहाँहरूले त उहाँको कथा मात्रै हामीले जम्मै सिनेमाहरू, फोटोहरू, उहाँको अन्तर्वार्ता र केही ब्याम्बु इकोनोमी, त्यो मैले जुन मोडेल निकालेको छु सायद मोस्ट कम्प्रिहेन्सिभ छ, ती सबैलाई हामीले गरेर गर्न सकिन्छ। यस, ल गजब कुराहरू आइरहेछ। अब हामी अर्को हप्ता अलि धेरै जुटौँ र लेख्न थाल्नुहोस् तपाईँहरूले। र अनि म अब मदनजीसँग र हेम, तपाईँ पनि यसमा लाग्नुहोस्। अब यो वेबसाइट र मा राइट, यु हेभ स्किल्स। मदन, हेम अनि हाम्रो भ्लाड हुनुहुन्छ, अनि म भइहालेँ, अनि हामी अरू केही युवाहरू लिएर आउँला। र एकदम अब हामीले त्यो नयाँ सरकार आउँदाखेरि हामी यो करिब मोडेल तयार हुनु पर्यो। हो, नयाँ सरकार आउँछ भन्ने आश गरौँ। ल, अरू नारायण सर हुनुहुन्छ त्यहाँ? तपाईँको कुरा नसुनिकन त हुँदैन। भन्नुहोस् न। छवि, तपाईँको आज नयाँ केही विचारहरू?
हुन्छ सर, नमस्कार सर। नमस्कार, सुनिन्छ सर है?
यस। आजकोबाट तपाईँलाई केही नयाँ विचारहरू?
एकदम धेरै सरको आजको प्रेजेन्टेसनबाट धेरै इन्साइटहरू भएको छ मलाई। अब जस्तो पानीको अब यसको चाहिँ नेगेटिभ एस्पेक्ट पनि छ। हाउ वी आर एबल टु म्यानेज वाटर भन्ने कुरो ठुलो कुरो हो। र यसमा चाहिँ जस्तो मैले भन्ने गरेको पहिला पनि हाम्रो जस्तो कर्णाली कोरिडोरको कुरो गर्ने, कर्णाली वाटरसेडको कुरो गर्ने, अथवा हाम्रो चाहिँ समस्त माउन्टेनको कुरो गर्नुपर्दा वाटरसेडबाट जानु चाहिँ एकदमै त्यो राम्रो हुन्छ। ल्यान्डस्केप लेभलमै हामीले हेर्नुपर्छ र ल्यान्डस्केप लेभलमा हेर्दाखेरि हाम्रो चाहिँ हेल्थ पनि हाम्रो कोअर्डिनेट आउला, फरेस्ट्री, एग्रिकल्चर, लाइभलीहुड, वाटरको हामीले कन्जर्भेसन अथवा यसको फ्लड कन्ट्रोल गर्ने यी सब आदि इत्यादि सबै कुराहरू आउँछन् र यो राम्रो कुरोहरू हो। र अर्को कुरो मैले यो ब्याम्बूको बारेमा अलिकति भन्न चाहे। ब्याम्बूको चाहिँ एकदमै हाम्रो चाहिँ खास गरिकन हाम्रो माउन्टेन त एकदम वास भइरहेछ। हाम्रो चाहिँ पटक पटक गरेर हाम्रो रिभर बेसिनहरू चाहिँ एकदम सबै हाम्रो ट्यारसहरू पनि हाम्रो भत्किरहेछ भने अब यो खास गरिकन हाम्रो साना साना रिभुलेटहरू ठुलो ठुलो रिभरमै त्यति ठुलो सम्भव नभए पनि साना साना खोल्सा खोल्सी र साना रिभरकोमा ब्याम्बूको त यो हाम्रो चाहिँ ल्यान्ड कन्जर्भेसनको लागि ठुलो रोल छ। साथै अब इकोनोमिक्सको त सरले अघि भनिसक्नुभयो र यसलाई कस्तो भने यो चाहिँ गर्ने यस्तै हो। यो चाहिँ अलिकता के भने हाम्रो जस्तो क्रपमा यो चाहिँ अलिकता क्रप कम्बिनेसनमा यसको नेगेटिभ इफेक्ट हुन्छ, एलिलोप्याथिक इफेक्ट। वरिपरि यसको 4-5 फिटसम्म क्रपहरू आउँदैन, एलिलोप्याथिक इफेक्ट भएको हुनाले यो बायोडाइभर्सिटीको लागि यो चाहिँ त्यति राम्रो होइन। यसले चाहिँ अलि बिगार, तर पनि यसलाई हाउ वी आर युटिलाइज, इट इज बेस्ट, इट इज हाई भ्यालु, यसको एकदमै मल्टिपल युज छ र त्यसलाई हामीले त्यो दृष्टिकोण अनुसार राख्ने हो। जस्तो हाम्रो एनी क्रपिङहरू हुन्छ त्यहाँ पनि कन्जर्भेसन, त्यस्तोमा बाम्बु लगाउने होइन, त्यहाँ अरू अरू स्पेसीहरू छन्, लेग्युम स्पेसीहरू छन्, यसको आफ्नै दायरा छ, यस किसिमले जाने हो। र नेपालको कन्टेस्टमा अहिले यो ब्याम्बु पनि एउटा चाहिँ बायोडाइभर्सिटी रिडक्सन गर्ने हो र त्यस्तै गरेर सल्लोले हाम्रो एकदमै बायोडाइभर्सिटी हाम्रो बिगार्यो। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि हाम्रो चाहिँ के भयो त माटोको पिएच पनि हाम्रो चाहिँ एसिडिक गराइदियो। सल्लोको हामीले अन्धाधुन्ध प्लान्टेसन, त्यसले गर्दा ब्रोड लिफहरूतिर हामीले जानु पर्यो, त्यो आयो। त्यस्तै हाम्रो चाहिँ एक्जोटिक स्पेसीहरू हाम्रो बनमारा, विभिन्न किसिमको बनमारा छ, बनमाराले बनाइ खायो भन्ने हाम्रो छ। त्यसले गर्दा पनि बायोडाइभर्सिटी जो चाहिँ लाइभ स्टक पेलेटेबल स्पेसी हुन्, चरणको क्वालिटी पनि बिगारिदियो। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि यही अघि सरले भनिरहेको भएको बायोचर, हाम्रो चाहिँ यो बनमारालाई फाँडेर बायोचरमा कन्भर्ट गर्न सक्ने ज्ञानकै रूपमा जानु एकदम जरुरी छ। त्यसले गर्दा हाम्रो बायोडाइभर्सिटी पनि बढ्ने, हाम्रो चरीचरण पशुको क्वालिटी हुने, पास्चर फोडरको हिसाबमा पनि, र हाम्रो क्रप पनि राम्रो हुने, र हाम्रो चाहिँ यो सोइलको हेल्थमा चाहिँ सुधार आउने, यो सबहरू जान्छ। यो सब राम्रो छ सरको यो आजको नयाँ इन्साइटहरू छ। यसमा हामीले कसरी सबै मल्टिपल वेमा हामी कसरी जान सक्छौँ होलिस्टिक रूपमा भन्ने कुराहरू रिफ्लेक्सन भयो। धन्यवाद सर।
लगजो र तपाईँले अरू थपथाप जो कर्णालीको अब एक हप्तामा तपाईँले प्रस्तुत गर्नुहुन्छ नि, होइन?
हो सर, मैले सरलाई त्यो
ल तपाईँकोबाट सुरु गर्छौँ, अनि मार्क, अनि हामी अलिकति राइटिङ एक्सर्साइज पनि जान्नु पर्यो, किनभने इफेक्टिभ हुनु पर्यो नि राइटिङ पनि। नेपालीहरूको कस्तो छ भने राइटिङमा पनि साह्रै नै यो तथापि, यद्यपि, होता पनि, के गर्ने त नि भन्ने छ के, त्यो काम लाग्दैन।
एकदम सर, एकदम गर्नु पर्यो त्यो पनि।
ल त अहिलेलाई म बिदा पाम, हामी समय पनि धेरै नै लियौँ। नारायण सर, इफ यु आर देयर, इफ नट म अहिलेलाई क्लोज गरिदिन्छु है त।
ल हुन्छ सर।